Okay, I need a prediction. I want exact score of the Super Bowl, Eagles versus Chiefs. I know who you want to win, but I want you to give me a good solid prediction.
Chiefs 33-28.
You're going with the Chiefs?
Yeah. Oh, definitely going with the Chiefs. 33-28, my friend.
Do you think there's a conspiracy that this three-peat is going to be a thing?
Don't. I did that was almost going to be my rant this week, is this notion of the NFL is rigged and the scripted and the refs and the whole thing. And the fact that both Mahomes and Kelsey have had to address this in their sort of pregame interviews is just, I mean, it's ridiculous.
I have Eagles 31-28.
Okay, all right.
Almost exactly the same score.
Yeah.
No field goals. It's right, one field goal. That's going to be the difference, and we'll see what happens.
All I'm looking for, quite honestly, it will be the perfect game if Nick Sirianni has a sad face at the end. If he's got his sort of hangdog face, that would be chef's kiss. Perfect.
You might get your wish.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Let this old marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 466 for Friday, February 7th, 2025. And with me, as usual, is my pal, my colleague, and, well, a guy who's really mad that Kanye's wife stole his thunder and wore his new outfit to the Grammys, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
Did you see the pictures? I haven't seen any pictures of it. Like, was it?
Well,
I just saw the headlines.
Yeah.
Was it crazy?
Yeah. But it's she was naked. I mean, that's it.
I was told that she had like a fur cover up to start.
She had a big fur coat on and then took the fur coat off, and it was ostensibly she was wearing a condom, basically. You know, I mean, she's really she's wearing. Well, it was. If I had to guess, I would say it was nylon, like almost like a nylon stocking. That kind of material. So literally it's transparent. You can see through it, but it would be the kind of thing that you would, so it would be the kind of thing that you would have to, like, I guess, slip into or squeeze into. I don't know.
How about shimmy?
Shimmy into. And yeah, it was basically a transparent stocking. And then she was on the red carpet with that. So
did you watch the Grammys?
I watched clips from the Grammys on YouTube. I watched clips from it because I couldn't stand to watch the whole thing.
The next morning, I all I wanted to do was just see, what did Beyonce win record of the year and all that, and then I saw that Kendrick Lamar won multiple
they played his
song.
Diss track. And the audience was singing his diss track to Drake as he got up. It was so good. It was so good.
I played the song. I don't know. Remember what the song. I'm not a huge Kendrick Lamar fan, but I wanted to listen to. Okay, this is Song of the Year. I want to listen to it. I don't know. I
don't think so. But yeah, I mean, I don't. The one performance that I thought was just great was, and I'm forgetting his name, the guy who flipped off the piano. He was a TikToker and then he became huge. Anyway, I'll look it up while we're in another segment. But yeah, it was his performance was fantastic, and so was, by the way, Sabrina. Again, I'm forgetting her last name. Carpenter. Thank you. Sabrina Carpenter's performance was awesome as well, I thought. So
it is like we really have no right to talk about these kids that are. That are getting all these awards.
Not really.
Besides Beyonce.
I was telling my wife, I can't keep them all straight, right? If you say, okay, well, here's a Sabrina Carpenter song versus a Chappell Roan song, it's like boy, am I going to get hate mail for this? I don't know the difference. I can't really tell you the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, you will get some hate mail.
Yeah, I know.
For that. I thought that the 91 nominations for Beyonce, which eclipsed Jay-Z, 88 or something, is just unbelievable that she's been around that long, had that many nominations, and finally got her record of the year, so we can stop talking about that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Taylor was there to give it to her, so it was yeah. I think
it was something. Yeah. So, anyways, I ending up my first week here in Key West, having a brilliant. I know, right?
Your cap on. You got the Key West awful lamps behind you, which is the most Florida thing ever. Those sort of, all you need is a job. But I'll bet somewhere in that room is a jar of sea glass. There's a jar of sea glass somewhere in that room.
Well, there's
or something.
There's shells all over the place. There's a shell right here. I can give you all sorts of examples of Florida in here, but we're having a great time. My wife did say, because nobody's here right now, they're on a tour. But she said, please wear a shirt, is what she said.
Well, that's just a good helpful safety tip at all for you, right? Because otherwise we got Chewbacca as a special guest here.
Exactly. Nobody wants. Not that we're getting all millions of views on YouTube or anything, but that would probably be the one that would take off.
That would be the one that went viral. Yes, that would be
Shirtless Joe, and Cowboy Rick, or whatever we're going for these days. But we're having a great time. It's been. Every day has been the same weather. You probably get this a lot. Like, we don't get this in Cleveland. Every day is the same weather day. High of 80, sunny, low of 72, slight breeze. That's it.
Well, you get what we don't get here, although it actually ironically is raining here today. You get that sort of frequent sort of the midday sort of rain shower, right? Which can be pleasant, actually. It can be a very pleasant thing. 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you get that sort of passing thunderstorm, and it comes through, and then it's done, right?
Well, not yet.
No. Hopefully you won't. I mean, it's the right time.
I don't think you won't. I was listening. I had the radio on. I was by the pool, having a great time, laying out, relaxing, and I had the radio on, and the weather forecast came on, and he literally. He sounded like a yawn, like whatever a yawn sounds like. That's this weather guy. And he basically said, we have a slight chance of rain Thursday. And this was on Monday. I was listening to it. He said, that's next Thursday. So you have 10 days of the exact same weather coming your way. If you like sun, you're going to love it here. Anyways, we're having a great time. I love Key West. I love the vibe, as I don't really consider it part of Florida. And most of the people here don't consider it part of Florida.
I can imagine,
So I'm having a good time.
And you're getting good food, and you're getting good sun, and it's just going to be a lovely.
Having all the drinks, and staying in and around Duval. If everybody knows that, basically we're in Old Town, and we're about 6 blocks from Duval, and 3 blocks from the water. It's just perfect. And I love running down here too, because for some reason, I could run forever next to the water. So there's a couple mile stretch where you can just walk on I'll call it the boardwalk. They don't call it that, but you're just running on the boardwalk, and you're just next to water the whole time. And it's brilliant. So anybody, I recommend taking a month off if you can do it, and just go to Key West. So Fantastic. There you go.
I like it. I like it. Well, in
the meantime, what happened? What's news?
Let me put it to you this way: you're missing quite the shitstorm here in the good old U.S. of A. This week. Were this another type of show, we'd have a lot to talk about. In the world of marketing, it seems a little pale in comparison, but we do have stuff that's going on here. Namely, we have, and what we'll talk about today is we've got the Super Bowl, of course, this coming weekend. And we'll talk about Super Bowl ads and Super Bowl marketing and what's going on there, as a number of brands have taken a bit of a unique approach to the Super Bowl advertising this year. We'll talk about OpenAI, and they have launched their deep research agent, and maybe the first real agent that does something truly useful, although it's very similar to Gemini's paid for deep research thing. And I've actually spun the wheels and done a little bit of a test drive on that, so we can talk about that. Then we'll talk about the new flood of money coming into influencer marketing. And this is a really interesting new trend, of course. And I'm just back, by the way, and hi to the folks at the USTA. I was just at the USTA, the U.S. Tennis Association in the Mid-Atlantic region, talking to them about employee branding and how that content. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll get to our winners and losers, where I'm going to pick Nielsen. I know that sounds like a shock for those of you who are fans of the show, but Nielsen is a big winner this week. You're going to talk about Hertz, the rental car company. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just my experiences there and maybe some recommendations.
Okay. All right. I'm feeling like that's going to be a loser, folks. Anyway, then we'll get to our rants and raves, and I'm going to rant a little bit about the Trump meme coin, which seems to be going just unheard of in the rest of the world, and what's going on from a marketing perspective there. And you are going to talk about an acquisition with one of our favorite folks, the media operator.
Yep.
And
absolutely,
they have made.
We love our acquisitions on This Old Marketing.
Yes,
so
we do. Yes,
there you go. Awesome.
So fun show of appropriate for a Key West kind of feel.
Yeah.
We'll open.
We're lucky there's any news at all with what's been happening around the United States. So
just absolutely,
and the world. Yeah. So,
exactly.
but yeah, good thing for people listening to this. This is your break from that. You don't have
totally
to worry
Although
about
I will recommend very highly there's an Ezra Klein article that he wrote, and then also a video that he made. And the video is almost better than the article. Just Google the Ezra Klein video called and it basically says "Don't believe him." It's just so good and so important for those that are concerned about what's going on. Okay.
Well, the man knows how to stay in the news.
Yes,
it's fairly impressive.
There's that. Yes,
yeah.
Both of them know how to stay in the news.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the other news, which of course in marketing is going to really center on this weekend, which of course is the biggest advertising event of really any year, which is the Super Bowl. And the headline that there are a number of mainstream media outlets obviously covering this. We'll link to the one from CBS News, which is basically what to watch in the Super Bowl 2025. The ads are already live for the most part. And the article starts off by saying millions of Americans are going to tune into the 2025 Super Bowl. I think it's going to be low. I'm predicting, by the way, that the ratings are going to be lower for this than normal, because I think there's a lot of people who don't really care about either team. Anyway, but also check out the big budget commercials from some of the nation's biggest advertisers. Many companies are either teasing their spots or releasing their ads early, aiming to generate buzz before the big game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. The New Orleans Super Bowl is expected to draw more than 120 million viewers for the February 9th broadcast, which will be aired on Fox via the free live stream on Tubi, making it one of the most viewed television events of the year. With an audience that size, ad prices, of course, this year have reached a record price, with a few ad spots reportedly selling for $8 million and even $8 million plus for 30 seconds. That compares with a 30-second spot of about $7 million during last year's game. And of course, beyond the Super Bowl airtime, advertisers spend additional millions creating the commercials, adding to the pressure for their investments to pay off. For a company whose Super Bowl ads score a touchdown, the benefits can include a sales boost by attracting new customers, as well as creating stronger brand loyalty. Boy, that sounds like a ChatGPT generated article.
It might have been. What was it? CBS News? I mean, come on.
That is the amount of clearing the throat language in that was really just high. So what do you think about? Have you seen some of the ads? Do you have any favorites? Do you feel like, do we need to rant about content marketing again this year? I feel like we kind of do.
Well, I have seen for the link that you showed me and what'll go in the show notes. I did see, what was interesting though, we were at a liquor store the other day, go figure. and there was Monday's Light, and I could tell from the style of it that it was Coors Light, but it was called the packaging, and the 12-pack was Monday's Light. And I'm like, what is Monday's Light? And then this morning as I'm like, oh, Monday's Light, that's their whole Super Bowl commercial thing coming out, which I thought was cute. I don't know if you saw that one.
I did,
but the Coors Light one was cute. The one with Pete Davidson is sort of cute. So I have a couple things. First, I think you're right. The amount of content production, because it's not just the placement of the $8 million. It's you're probably at least that much, half to the full 8 in just production value of a commercial. I mean,
100%. Yeah, especially some of them. I mean, some of them are cheaper than others. But whether you're paying star talent like Hellman's with the When Harry Met Sally reunion,
that's right,
which has already been airing and sort of has lost. I'm like, why they should have made a longer version of it. Maybe there will be, and maybe there will be a much longer version of it that airs during the Super Bowl. But the ad itself is like, well, anyway, go ahead. But yes, whether you're paying stars or special effects or those kinds of things, the price of production usually about somewhere in the neighborhood of 2x to 3x the actual $8 million. So
and then you're paying for the marketing and the placement. Of course. But if you really want it to work, you want to put more marketing around and really make it a thing. But
right, that's the whole point is that you introduce the commercial and then it basically tees up. The idea is that at least this is the way it used to be. You would create a big tentpole piece, and then it would feed your campaign for many months to come. So whether you'd be offshoots of that same commercial or whether it's the same campaign, and you would sort of launch the idea, it would sort of be this was basically just the release of the movie, and then you'd be marketing the marketing and the campaign in the months and weeks and months afterwards, because the whole point of this is not to get the play during the Super Bowl. The whole point of the Super Bowl ad was to get the replay on the news and all the covered media that comes after the day.
Well, it seems like, and by the way, 8 million plus production, that's a hefty fee to pay. But it doesn't seem like you're seeing the extreme inflation in that category as you are with a lot of the digital and performance marketing.
Great point. Yeah.
So now I'm looking at it because, I mean, how 15 years ago, I think you and I were doing the posts that were saying, here's what you could buy with a Super Bowl ad. I think the first one we did was like $1 million. Yeah. We're like, oh my God, you could have a quarterly magazine and you could do all these things. But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yes, it's more, but it's not significantly more. We've seen if you look at PPC and you look at some of the influencer marketing we'll talk about later, and that pricing seems to be skyrocketing compared to sort of just, okay, we went from 7 to 8. You theoretically, I don't know if I agree with you. My gut says it's going to be less watched, but we feel that way because who wants to see the Eagles and the Chiefs? But I don't know. We'll see. But 120 million plus is probably a realistic number. Do the math. You're like, okay, well, you can make sense of it. It seemed like years ago you couldn't. Now I think you can, because there's the more social media, there's more sharing, there's more length about it. It's not just a one-time activity. We talk about the Hellman's thing. It seems to happen for weeks and even into months. And if you could stretch that out, you're like, okay, well, it's not such an idiotic purchase as maybe it once was. Yeah. I don't know.
Here's what I'll say is when I say, so the numbers will probably be higher. The total numbers will probably be higher simply because of, population growth and the number of people who are looking, who have the chance and can watch so what I will be very interested in is total share. In other words, so in TV measurement, and it's funny because this tees up a little bit of later what I'll talk about with regard to a winner in Nielsen. In TV measurement, you have how many people watched, and then the real question is, well, what was your share? In other words, of all the people who were watching television, what was your share? And I'll bet you, this is a hunch I have, the share will be lower, right? The number of people who are actually watching something else will also be higher. That's my guess there. But I totally agree with you that the pricing, I think, is reflected in that, in the sense that we have not seen astronomical growth in many, many years in terms of broadcast television and the Super Bowl types of events, simply because the numbers. I mean, you think about it for a second. It used to be one place and one place only, right? You could only see this on Fox or CBS or whatever mainstream media broadcast network had the rights. Yeah. Now, the fact that it's on Tubi, whatever number that are watching on Tubi are going to be, is going to be less than what we'll watch on Fox. Now, the advertiser doesn't ultimately care, because I believe that on Tubi you're going to see the same ads and the same things, so it's kind of a wash. But you have to start to wonder, go, okay, well, are the people who are watching it on Fox different than the people who are watching it on Tubi? And what would I have done if I could have segmented those audiences with advertising a little differently? And so, I think it's going to be a really interesting thing to watch from a marketing perspective. I'll say this about the ads: every ad I've seen so far, you said it best, right? Oh, that one was cute. That one was cute. There is clearly a trend in all of these brands to avoid any kind of content.
Oh my God, I was thinking the same thing. I'm going through. I'm like, okay, let's just stay right down the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not go any. Oh, this is going a little right. This is a little. No, we're not doing any of that.
Yeah, anywhere. I will bet you won't see. Remember the great. It was a GM ad, I think. The "I'm a Farmer" ad, where it was a recitation of a poem, which was basically, what is a farmer, and stuff like that. You're not going to see. You're not going to see it this year.
Well, and did you also see that they're taking off the end racism?
Yeah,
on the goal lines, because
congratulations.
Apparently we've ended it. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's all done.
And now we're going to choose love.
Yeah.
So
choose love. Yeah, as long as it's not diverse love. Okay, as long as it's not diverse. Anyway, we'll get off on.
So what's interesting, I don't know how long Fox has the agreement for the Super Bowl, but I can almost guarantee that in the next few years, Netflix or Amazon's going to have it. Because they can double dip. They can get their subscribers that are already paying to watch the ads, and then they're getting the ad revenue on top of it. It's like once Netflix started getting into that business and live sports, they're like, oh my God, this is the greatest business ever.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see that pretty soon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking of ads, we should probably do our own Super Bowl ads thing, because everybody pays $7 million to be on This Old Marketing. So, or some percentage of that, some smaller percentage of $7 million.
We'd be taking those yams, that's for sure.
Do you feel like your leads never lead anywhere? And you're making content that no one sees, and it takes forever to build a campaign? Well, that's why we built HubSpot. It's an AI-powered customer platform that builds campaigns for you, tells you which leads are worth knowing, and makes writing blogs, creating videos, and posting on social a breeze. So now, it's easier than ever to be a marketer. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Are you ready to do the hustle? No, that's not a 1970s reference. What I mean is a great podcast. It's the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with Joe Fear, and it's all about how to build a business so it gives you the freedom and fuel for your life. Join Joe as he discusses systems, mindset tweaks, reframes, and strategies for entrepreneurs, and really anyone, to enjoy the process of being in business and having fun. This isn't for the entrepreneur looking to build $1 billion business, rather, somebody who's looking to build systems that work. You can find the Hustle and Flowchart podcast wherever you follow your favorite pods.
Oh, you switched up the music.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I went to Sona and did some new music, and what I did was my prompt was, I want instrumental disco music that sounds like it came from the 1970s, and that's what it came back with.
That's pretty good. That's exactly what I would come back to you with.
The other one that they had going on was much funkier, which I really loved, but it didn't fit the commercial as well.
It would be too funky.
It was
way. We have a funkiness limit on this show, and we don't want to surpass the amount of funk coming from This Old Marketing. I do in the HubSpot commercial there, they talk about AI powered. Well, I was listening to that. I think that in 2 years, you'll never hear that, because everything will be AI infused.
Of course.
So you won't say it. It'll be too obvious.
Yeah, that's
to say AI anything. So
I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Have you been listening to Galloway talk about the idea of how AI may actually, the value of AI may actually be consumer captured rather than any one company. That basically DeepSeek is the entrant to the market that makes AI very much like PCs, right? Where no one company can really capture all of the value because it's basically, it's such a world-changing thing, but so easy for other companies to get into that it becomes it ostensibly becomes a commodity that adds tremendous value to the consumer market, but no one company can capture all of the value.
I did not. Is that on the latest Galloway podcast?
It's on his Markets podcast, but it's just I love the theory. I think it's a fantastic theory. It's not his. He actually cops to the fact that it was him talking with someone who talked about it. But yeah, talks about all the industries across history that have changed the world, like airlines and PCs and those sorts of things, and how competitive they have all become because they're easy to copy. They're easy to copy. So all of the value goes to the consumer, basically. So
interesting.
Really,
speaking of AI, I think we have some AI in the news.
We do.
Yeah.
This is coming courtesy of Mashable, although there's a few people covering this, but I really liked this Mashable article, which opens up and says, OpenAI launches deep research AI agent for ChatGPT. Nice picture of Sam there speaking in front of some Chinese, it looks like. And on the heels of its O3 mini release, by the way, OpenAI completely shit at naming. I mean, O3 mini high dash, quadruple dash 05. I mean, whoever's naming the products over there is just like needs to be like taken out to the woodshed.
Well, AI is naming it because they go to their own ChatGPT namer O3 mini, and the namer says, "What is this going to be?"
Yeah.
And that's what they end up doing.
The mini of course was sort of the tipping point for me. Anyway, on the heels of its O3 mini release, OpenAI announced ChatGPT agent for handling in-depth research, appropriately called deep research, using a yet-to-be-released version of OpenAI's reasoning model, O3. Deep research conducts multi-step research on the internet for complex tasks, said the announcement. Deep research on ChatGPT essentially functions as your very own research assistant. It's designed to help users who do intensive knowledge work in areas like finance, science, policy, and engineering, but can be used for any thorough research like shopping for a new car. It goes on to talk about it. It's only available at the moment for those who are paying the big bucks, the $200 a month price tag for ChatGPT, which I am now. So
you are because of this?
No,
you wanted to. Oh, okay.
No, I am earlier only because I figured it's such an integral part of my job. Both this job covering the news as well as what's going on in my world of clients and all that kind of stuff. I felt like I need to know these things. So it's a business investment for me to invest in, be able to have all the capabilities there. So yeah.
So what say you? What do you think?
Okay. So just to be clear, Gemini, Google's AI sort of engine, has had this capability for some time, which I also pay for because I pay the $20 a month. For theirs, it's $20 a month to get access to the deep research idea. And so I've used the Google Gemini thing a few times to do some research into things like, I did one. I had to do a research project on the current state of gating content and marketing. I had to do another one on the compound growth rate of the big data infrastructure, for example, so in companies. So I wanted sort of a trends report on what companies were doing with big data infrastructure. And it's good, not great, I would say. It does.
The OpenAI one is good, not great.
Well, no. What I would say is that the research from Gemini, from Gemini, it does cite resources. It does a pretty good job of citing those sources. I would say that in some cases, it sort of made some interpretive sort of things that are a little interesting. I'll give you a specific example. When I did the research on the compound annual growth rate of the big data infrastructure and business, one of the things I wanted it to do was give me the historical growth rate, for the last 10 years. And I made that very specific in my prompt. And basically every time it referred to it, it would say in the research report, the historical growth rate is X, right? X percent, right? I think it was like 17% or something. But if you look at the citation for that basically that claim in the research paper, if you go look at the citation, it's talking about a predictive sort of the next 10 years will bring.
Got it.
So there's some interpretation going on there with citations. It also tends to cite things like without numbers. In other words, it seems to go kind of away from sort of like hard numbers like 80% or 10% or 15% or a number like 10,000 or whatever, and basically cites ostensibly claims, right? So the trend that we've seen is that for
trend is up or the trend,
right?
yes.
And then it'll cite something that says that the trend is going up. So
yeah.
It's not really great at finding like detailed numbers, facts, statistics, deep research in that particular way. It is good with coming up and sort of supporting a hypothesis that you might have. Now, switch over to the deep research. I took the exact same prompt in the Gemini thing that I've been using, and I put that exact same prompt into the OpenAI's deep research, and it was better, not $180 a month better. It was better. It was slightly better. The cited resources were a little more complete, I would say, a little more current, I would also say, and I would say a little more detailed in terms of the way that it wrote the report, and a little more interpretive. In other words, it tried better to process the point that I was trying to make rather than just sort of reading like a dry. It's the equivalent of you asking a research assistant to go do something, and what they basically give you is the high school level book report on something. They go out and copy and paste a bunch of stuff from sources and then reword it so that it sounds like innovative, and it's basically that. So to get a Cliff's Notes, I look at it as a time saver. Both of them I see as time savers. They are not good sort of click and go, right? In other words, you cannot not validate it, right? So you have to go validate everything that it says because of the sort of, I don't know if it's hallucinatory, but it's certainly not hallucinatory. It interprets a lot, and it interprets a lot the wrong way. A lot of that is the weakness, by the way, of the language in whatever it's citing. Sure. A lot of what we're citing out there, especially in industry research, is crap thought leadership, right? So what you end up with is it's trying to interpret something that's not written terribly clearly. So it's trying to make the best that it can out of this thing and find a source for you, especially on more niche level topics, right? So the broader the topic, the better you're going to get, right? Which makes total sense, right? The more information there is out there on this particular thing, the better you're gonna get sort of but that also means the insight isn't terribly rich, right? And in other words, it's not going to tell you much that you didn't already know. It's just going to help you maybe substantiate a thesis in a faster way. So
your recommendation would be you don't need the 200. Oh, no, you're absolutely like marketers. You need to probably get on this train and
you need to understand it for sure. It absolutely. I would say try it, understand it, understand the limitations of it for sure. Because it's not going to be a replacement for you hiring a thought leader or you becoming a thought leader and adding your own twist to it. I will also tell you that, and maybe this is tweakable, I haven't really played around with this too much. The report that comes back, even if you tell it to be, witty or casual or, it comes back dry as toast. I mean, the stuff it comes back with is just dry as toast.
But you can't, but then you could, so
yes,
let's say that you get the
GPT. Yeah, you could run it through your own GPT. Yeah.
So theoretically, you get a really solid report coming out of this new deep research. You could take that and then run it through Claude and say, Claude, make it sound like me, because Claude's a little bit better at that.
Totally.
You could, you got to. So basically, you got to mix and match your AI jellies here to come up with a bagel that's worth eating, right?
What I found was the way I'm using it, because I have created a custom GPT for myself and for the company that sort of does a pretty good job of helping me rewrite or look at. And mostly what I do is I identify gaps, right? So I say, here's my post or here's my thoughts. What else should I be covering, right? That I'm not covering, right? And then it'll come back, and it's pretty good about that. ChatGPT is pretty good about that. It's like, hey, you talk a lot about X, and you didn't really talk about X in this, and it would probably be pretty good to do that. Or, this passage could be clearer, right? So, and it will suggest some rewrites and stuff like that. So I very much appreciate the tool for that. What I would say is that when you look at this and say, what I find is that you can take that research report that it gives you, feed it into the knowledge of your custom GPT, whether that's Claude or ChatGPT or whatever your favorite LLM is of the month.
Sure.
And basically say, remember this, like this is good knowledge for you to have, so that when you start working with other things, you can start to apply some of that information, and it'll remember it, right? It'll remember like the citations, and it'll remember all those things.
Well, what I really like about all this and the new versions coming out from all the players is the competition is really good. Even I think what happened with DeepSeek, more and more of that is going to be great for everyone, for all the consumers out there. So I want to see more of that. So I love seeing this happen, and it seems to be moving quicker than I ever anticipated. So
yeah,
no,
it's moving quick. It's moving quick. And I've sort of become a ChatGPT guy only because that's where I'm finding, that I'm spending more of my time, other than Claude or some of the other tools. My question is, and this sort of gets to the Galloway thing as well, which is my question becomes, with them rolling out these kinds of tools for an individual productivity basis, right? Which can do things like remember your jargon, remember your brand terms, remember all of the things that you do. I start to wonder where the players are that are in this space that basically have, easy team-based interfaces across these models, the Jaspers and the writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder very much about the viability of those products, because ultimately it feels like the differentiators that they have over the OpenAI's are pretty thin moats at best.
Well, and you could, look what happened with DeepSeek. You could go to something like Llama, and if you could hire somebody to build your own interface and not be like, okay, we don't need any of this stuff because it's already there.
That's right.
I don't know.
It's a very fascinating thing. It'll be very interesting to watch how this whole thing, especially with the new administration and their sort of take on AI and what's going on. It's going to be
serious question. And this is a little bit off topic, but I'm interested in hearing your answer. If you had somebody who was 20 years old that came to you and said, I want to get into marketing, would you recommend it? And if you would, getting into marketing. Yeah.
100%. Absolutely.
And okay, so what is the opportunity, knowing where we're going to be or not knowing where we're going to be in a year or two? What is the opportunity on the marketing side for somebody coming into this?
Human creativity in a phrase, right? In 2 words, human creativity, because everything that I'm seeing coming out of generative AI, I think it was Paul Reitzer who said that this is the dumbest AI you'll ever use, and it'll only get better and better and better and better. So I want to credit the quote wherever it is. And I think he's absolutely right. This is the dumbest AI that we're ever going to use, but that was last year. So, but what I would say is what I'm seeing in terms of the very fast iteration of new products as it pertains to marketing. Now, let's not talk. We can put, cell division and, DNA mapping and all that that's all over here, right? We're not talking about that. I'm talking specifically about generative AI for marketing purposes, right? Content creation and generation. And so what I would say there is that, regardless of whether you like the word delve or you don't like the sort of, the way it joins together conjunctive sentences, and you can see, all of you can spot the weaknesses, right? It's pretty easy for humans to spot some of the weaknesses, but ultimately you can't tell. You can't tell what's what. The only way to tell what's what is in terms of the value of the creativity and the surprising notion of the content itself. So the value of innovative, creative ideas that surprise, delight, are controversial, provocative, that are truly the whole nature of why we create content and marketing to begin with. I don't see that. I don't see that I just don't see it as a threat. And so the human creative aspect of marketing is something I think is going to just become more and more. The science of marketing, the algorithmic part of marketing, becomes more and more commoditized, and the art of marketing becomes more and more differentiated. And so to me, that is, that's the good news for anybody coming out of university right now. So programmatic ad buys, that becomes an AI driven thing, right? The idea of coming up with an amazing, surprising event that stops people in their tracks and makes people want to trust you and do business with you, that is all human for the moment.
I want to believe you.
I
want to believe you. I'm holding back.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Art is not dead, my friend. Art is not dead.
I tend to agree with that part of it. I just I think marketing is going to be a different thing entirely in 3 years.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
what it's going to be, we don't know. We'll cover it though. We'll cover it.
Yeah. Quickly,
right.
We have a wonderful question. We have a wonderful question from our audience, right? So we wanted to get to that question because instead of another news story, it's a great question.
All right, let's see. This is from Peter Breck, and thank you, Peter. And let's see if we can play this properly.
Hey guys, it's Peter. My question is, when do you know that an idea should be killed? I've been working in a new career for about 2 years now, and I've probably experimented with, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 different things. And that might sound like a lot, but most of them lead to the same exact resource. But now what I found is that I've kind of niched down into a specific market that is receptive to what I'm doing. And I have a lot of, I guess, fans in other segments now. So like one of the newsletters is about 3,000 people for home insurance, which it's not exciting at all, but in the California market, it can be intriguing. So short of just shutting that down, because it's no longer really kind of where I'm going, what do I do with something like that? And I don't know if it's something that anyone would want to buy necessarily, because it's so tied to me as the writer of the content. But I'm trying to figure out, I guess, what do I do with that specific newsletter?
You want to respond to Peter's got 2 questions in there, really. So
well, there's more than 2. He's got 2 questions in there.
Peter, we love you. We love the question. Thank you.
We do. Well, first of all, welcome to marketing, and welcome to entrepreneurship, where every day you have a good idea. And so here's the way I look at it. First of all, the answer to what you do with your sort of superfluous newsletter that you're sort of not interested in anymore, or you don't want to, it's not where you're going. My theme, let me back up a second. My theme for anybody getting into this kind of business, and you've heard me say this on the show before, market where you're going, not where you are. So in other words, you want to focus on where you want to go, not where you necessarily are. And the reason for that is because you want to enjoy your goal and your objective and all of that. If you're only doing this because it's sort of, making the donuts and it's where you are and it sort of seems semi-successful, it's ultimately not going to be very satisfying for you, regardless of whether or not it's monetarily successful. So do you sell this newsletter? As you say, it might not have a lot of value, et cetera, et cetera. Can you give it away, but give yourself a piece of it? That might be an option, right? To give it to somebody who's really interested in this market and say, hey, listen, I'm going to give it to you, but I want to keep a piece of it, right? So that if you do make a success out of this thing, I get a little something when you're successful with it, right? So you could say, and I've done these kinds of deals before where it's like, hey, if we sell this thing, or if this thing starts making money, then you're going to pay me X amount of dollars, right? So you could help somebody start something different. And in terms of where you go with how do you know when to quit something, the way I've always done it, whether it's a podcast or a show or a series or anything that I'm doing from a content perspective, I just continually look at sort of, is the audience getting value out of it? Am I getting value out of it? And is it something I love doing? And so, I used to end a talk that I used to give at Joe's event. I used to end it with, sort of the thing was, do what you love and the money will follow. And I don't find that to be true at all. What I find is that if the people love what you love to do, money will follow. And so that is the sort of litmus test I always have in terms of continuing something is, do I love it? Do they love it? And if both those things are true, I'm going to do it anyway, right? And try and make a thing out of it, and the money will follow. So I know that's a little bit of bumper sticker advice, but that's the best I got for you at the moment.
No, I think that's a great response. I'll just say quickly, if you're doing something for more than 36 months and you don't see a path to profit, you probably need to kill it. Let's just be honest. Yeah, you probably go on. And the thing about the selling order, obviously all the options you have, you could do many things. You just mentioned it, Robert, but there is something to be said about focus. It sounds like there's a lot going on, Peter. You got a lot of different projects, and when you make the decision to focus on one, you will immediately see results. Yeah. And I remember when you and we were doing lots of different things, Robert. And then when we all said, okay, let's focus on this Content Marketing Institute thing, and we're going to put these other projects to the side or sell them. And I sold another company. Everything got better because you're just focused on being good at one thing and not the 10 different things that you're doing. So,
and it needs to be successful, right? That's the thing. With 15 different projects, you don't need any one of you need one of them or any one of them to be successful. If you focus down on one, it needs to be successful. So you just put a different energy into it. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Absolutely. Thank you, Peter. And we love anybody else who wants to send us a question. Go to thisoldmarketing.com and submit your question. Absolutely.
Really those things. All right. So let's get quickly to our winners and losers, where Joe and I have a winner in the past week of marketing or a loser, big L on their forehead. With marketing. Do you want to go first with your?
I just want to tell. So I had so I'm renting a car here at the Key West Airport, and I'm with Hertz. I've had status on Hertz for a long time, and generally, when you have status on Hertz, you walk out and you go to a board, and they have your name on it, and then you go to your spot. And I naturally did that, because that's what but then I realized I got out there and there's no board. Right. There's nothing. And I come back in and then they're all like, oh no, this Hertz doesn't have a board. It's the first Hertz I've ever been to that doesn't have a board. Right. I've been to a lot of Hertzes. So some kind of communication would be really, really important on that. The other thing is, I get in there, go there, everybody's waiting around. I don't know what's going on, but there's nobody in line. Then I go up there and she says, well, I'm sorry, we're out of cars.
You literally had the Seinfeld thing.
That's exactly what everyone was talking about. It's like, you took the reservation.
Yeah, right.
No, if you don't keeping the reservation is the key
of the reservation.
And so that's fine. I mean, we took a cab to our place. I came back the next day. It's no big deal to get that. The problem was there was no communication, and the workers were just inundated with hate because there was no sign. There was no regular, like, here's what's going on. They could have deflated a lot of the anger by just over communicating. Yeah. And they never did. It was basically 8 people waiting for cars, seethingly looking at 2 workers who couldn't do anything because there were no cars. My whole point is, they can't control it. My whole point is, when anything bad happens, we have to over communicate. We have to. That's why we got to make sure, especially what's going on in the United States right now, we do not want to kill our communication. We want to over communicate whenever we can. And that gives us a little bit more control as an organization and part of our marketing. So I was just like, these are easy fixes. These are just communication to your customers, and you could fix all these things instead of just, oh, whatever, I'll just go up there and then they'll tell me.
Yeah.
So
you could certainly mitigate it, right? They could have mitigated you by apologizing, basically saying, hey, listen, don't wait around. We don't have cars. So sorry. We'll make it up to you, and we'll call you, or we'll deliver a car to you when we have one, or whatever it is. Right. And basically say, look, there is no path here. Right. You don't yell at me. It's just the end of it. Right. We have no cars. We will make it up to you. Go to your hotel, and we will call you as soon as we have something ready.
Really good example right next to it. So Avis was right next, and they were having some problems too. Really, really long line. And there was a wonderful person that says, I know everyone's hot. It's warm in here. It's like, we're going to do the best we can. Please be patient. We'll work with you. I've got some free water. Anybody that wants a water, I'll take it. And doing that kind of stuff. And that line was so much happier, even though they weren't getting cars either. So it's just a different way to look at it.
Where did all the cars from Key West go?
I don't know why. I can understand that, hey, you need to wait 15 minutes. We're waiting for a couple returns to come in. But to be 10 cars, but where did they go? Did we not know that was going to be a thing? But again, a little text ahead of time, because the people in front of me were waiting way over an hour. And, we don't have to do that. Anyways, what do you got going on? What's yours?
I got a quick winner here. Any sort of friend and family of the show, you've heard me rail and rant against, I've started my career in marketing and television. And so you've heard me rant and rail against Nielsen and the way that they do ratings and the measurement. And it's been my go-to example for the ridiculousness of marketing measurement for many years, because basically the way Nielsen ratings work, or used to work, I should say, is that you had a panel of people. And when I was in television, this is in the 90s, it was literally 5,000 people. 5,000 people determined what you saw on television. So just sit with that for a minute. And that was called their panel, right? The Nielsen panel. If you were a Nielsen family, what you would do is you would fill out a sort of journal that you would keep on what you watched. At some point, they got little boxes on the top of their television sets that would actually record what was on the television. And basically, you wouldn't have to fill out a thing anymore. But it was basically still based on a panel of real people watching real television. And that's what created the measurement. Well, I guess it was this week, January 24th, Nielsen has announced that they have ended panel-only ratings that have measured TV for decades. We'll link to a story in the Wall Street Journal here. Basically, an article opens up saying media measurement firm Nielsen will stop selling its standalone consumer panel-based TV ratings in the fourth quarter of this year, according to a memo sent from Nielsen to ad buyers and confirmed to the Wall Street Journal by the company. The panel-only product has for decades served as the standard for measuring TV ratings, which programmers use to set ad prices, and advertisers rely on what they know that they got what they paid for. They're going to be replacing it. This is what they've been working on for years and years and years, by the way, to find a replacement for it, which they're calling a new product called Big Data Plus Panel, which I think is fascinating. Combines the panel-based consumer data with numbers drawn from third-party vendors like smart TV manufacturers, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're going to start pulling in partnerships with your smart TV, whether that's a Samsung or something like that. And they're also and boxes that sit on top of your TV, and start looking at that data plus adding the panel to it. And here's the reason I think they're sticking with a panel thing that at least in part will inform the research, is because I believe that if they were to turn the turn the switch over, the ratings would be a lot different. The research is going to be a lot different, and they need to wean people into this very slowly. Else, some of these shows that you thought were super popular based on the panel research, maybe not so much. And the other way around, by the way.
Yeah.
And so for advertisers who are putting, and this is the Super Bowl weekend made me think of it, like you're putting millions of dollars into an ad buy. And if overnight your research turned in and said, yeah, by the way, remember that show that we said that you should be putting, millions of dollars in, and is charging you, so much money on a CPM basis. Well, that's not actually right anymore. So there's going to be a really interesting sort of transition here as they go forward. So it'll be fascinating to see that. But big winner for Nielsen here, because they have been long thought to lose that whole market, and now it looks like they're going to keep it. So it's probably
going to be similar to when Apple changed their download figures for podcasts, and everyone 100%. Dropped by 60% at one time. You're like, whoa,
100%.
We're not as loved as we thought we were. So
100%.
good stuff.
100%.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, now let's quickly just get to our rants and rave section before we can get out of here and get Joe to the beach, where we go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave that makes us, feel like we've just put on a very special dress for our Grammy Awards, or that we basically take off our fur coat and, people can see us naked, which is not a good
And we
thing.
shimmy into our outfits.
Shimmy in. Shimmy.
That should be
the title of the episode, by the way, shimmying into our outfits.
Shimmying, and God, nobody wants this. I have a quick rave.
Yep.
Our friend of the show, Jacob Donnelly, who runs a media operator, we have used a lot of articles from Jacob's over the past many years. Media operator purchased toolkits this week, another newsletter that we have actually used on this show as well. Some of that research. If you're not familiar with a media operator, they run AMO Summit as well, just focused on the business of being a media operator. I wanted to just throw a shout out because, again, there's so many business models, content marketers or content creators that just don't think that these are options. And it sounds like you had two media operators coming together. They found a solution that made sense, grow the operation even bigger. And it looks like it's going to be a big success. So congratulations to that on that purchase.
I love his newsletter so much. It is so good. It's just great. It's great to see good people do good things. And
that's exactly right. All right. You got a rant or a rave this week? What do you got?
I have a rant. It's just, I guess, calling attention to something which seems to be going just not very well reported at all, which is, Trump and Melania launched a meme coin and we'll link to a Reuters news feed that came out basically this week. And talked about the fact that it's made nearly $100 million in trading fees as small traders, the people who bought into this thing, start to lose money hand over fist. As we speak, the coin is down almost 70%, I think, off of its top price, which was days after the inauguration. Obviously, all the things that are going on in Washington right now are causing some doubt and uncertainty in that market. However, I think that's not really the reason that the coin is sinking so much. I think it's because you've got I think it's 29 or 30 sort of major buyers of that coin, and we can all speculate who that might be. Basically pulled their profits off the table. Basically saw it for what it was and pulled their profits off the table. And so we'll see how long it keeps. When I think about the history of presidents and I don't care what side of the political aisle you fall on, this is just awful. There's just no way to because both parties in the history of this country, whether it's creating collectibles, creating businesses, creating things while they were in office, has always been seen as really just, something that you just don't do. You just, it's just a norm that you just don't cross. And Republicans have criticized Democrats for this. Democrats have criticized Republicans for this. And the fact that we just don't even care anymore that this is going on is just bothersome. It's just bothersome that we don't care that. And by the way, I don't think Trump is making a gajillion dollars off of this. I literally think this is other people making money off of the presidency name. And so this is, so when you look at it, you go, oh, well, Trump has lost value too. And Trump has done this. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. I don't think he gives a shit. I think what matters is the 30, 40 people who bought into this thing and started this thing using the presidency and using Trump's idea here to say, this is the way we're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars in a very short order. I think it gives NFTs a bad name. I think it gives crypto a bad name. I think it's bad for crypto as a technology. And I think it's ultimately just awful from a way that we look at the way our government operates. So that's my rant.
I don't know what to make of it. It's very in line with the Trump Bibles and the Trump stakes and the Trump University. It's just
which all happened by the way before he became president, right? I mean, that's the thing.
I was surprised that it came out. 80% of the coins are owned by Donald Trump's business.
Yeah.
So whenever you're looking at buying a creator coin like this and you have that much ownership going to the creator, it should send warning flags to you. I think that most of the money is being made off of the trading exchanges that are making this, and so they're loving this Trump coin and whatever.
That's really
no.
Yeah,
absolutely, and you're right. And the thing is that I wish people would have just said, "Hey, I'm going to donate and give my money to Donald Trump," instead of thinking. And it says basically this is just a support coin.
Yep,
it's very clear. It's not like they're about trying to be deceptive. There's no use to it. You just get it. It's like, I buy a piece of land on Mars or something like that never happens. Yeah. That's it. But there are some people who've lost some money gambling, and I don't know if those people knew what they were getting into or not. That's my only concern. If everybody knows what they're getting into, fine. You want to try to make a buck. Most people have lost money. Yeah. So what are you going to do?
I mean, get off on a rant about online gambling and that sort of thing as well. So it's all just awful. It's just awful.
I don't want people's first impression of cryptocurrency, which I love, to be Trump coin.
Right.
Which is essentially going to be essentially what they would call a rug pull. It's just like there was value and now there's not value.
That's right. That's right. Which is going to slow down the adoption of Bitcoin, and it's going to slow down the adoption of any other NFTs or collectible types of.
Bite your tongue. It's not going to slow down Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
No,
we'll see.
It will not. That's my Bitcoin. Don't.
Right. What's the big plans for the week?
We're right. As soon as I say goodbye off of this one, we're going to do a mojito class.
Oh, nice.
So I get to make and drink some mojitos in the afternoon. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah. And then we got the pool. We're going. There's lots of bars. We've got more people coming in this weekend. It's super fun. We're having more fun than we should.
You're having more fun than you should be allowed to have, but that's well deserved, my friend. Well deserved.
Thank you.
As for me, I'll be working for a living, so there you go.
Well, at least somebody is.
Yes.
So.
Exactly.
I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will see you again next week with another wonderful episode here of the news, and Joe in his bikini. So you can look forward to that. And until we see you again next week, and until Joe sees you in his bikini, well, just remember it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.